Parents with nanny cams, what have you caught your babysitter doing? Not me, but my aunt's friend set up a nanny cam because she noticed that every time she changed her child's diaper the child would start crying a lot more than usual. Turns out when they watched the nanny change her diaper, she would use Clorox wipes if they were nearby instead of grabbing the baby wipes. Edit. For anyone wondering what happened afterward, they fired the nanny immediately and the father became a stay-at-home dad. Well, a case which happened near where I live. Woman used to work, husband out of country, had a 2-year-old kid. They hired a nanny to look after him during daytime. Day by day kid started looking malnourished, so she set up a spy cam. Apparently the lady used to bring her kid and feed him all the food left for the kid she was supposed to babysit. Then she would feed the kid cheap biscuits. She was promptly handed over to police.
This video is brought to you by Fiverr, the biggest, most affordable, and overall the best freelance website there is. It's a place where you can hire anyone from writers to designers and everyone in between for as little as $5. It's absolutely the best place to save time and money for your projects. But if you want to take your business a step further, we would highly recommend Fiverr Pro, a place where you can work with verified, hand-vetted, exceptionally talented professionals that have, with their work for companies like Google or Apple, proven to be the best in their category. Link in the description below.
I've been a pretty regular weekend nanny for an amazing family for 4 years now. They've cycled through a couple different weekday nannies since I've been with them. There is only one monitor and it's in the little dude's room. Once the mom showed me on the camera why they let one go. Little dude said, "Mommy said I don't have to do that." And the nanny snapped back, "Well, it doesn't matter. Mommy is a beach." And then dragged the kid out of the room by his shirt. Super fired. We once caught the nanny putting charcoal to feed them as a snack. This woman claimed that she thought it was a snack. It was in a charcoal box. My brothers were 4. Not a nanny cam, because this happened in the 90s, and I don't think we had them in Scotland then. But my mum came home early one day because she had become suspicious of our nanny, as my sister and I never slept after a day with her. She found both my sister and I in bed in the middle of the day. Turned out my nanny had been dosing us up with child medicine to make us sleep all day so she could sit and do nothing. This happened at my friend's child's daycare center. They were giving them Benadryl or something, pill form, and the kids were sleeping all day. My friend had chosen a daycare rather than a babysitter because she thought it'd be safer. We have a security camera in my bedroom for my free roam bunny, so we can keep an eye on her whilst on work. If we go on holiday etc. Well, my dad is 50 and is a big bloke who acts like he doesn't like pets. Came over to visit one day whilst I was out. He went in my room and crouched down calling the bunny. He spent an hour trying to pet the rabbit and kept repeating in a soft voice, "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to pet you and see how fluffy you are." He just about shoot himself when I spoke through the security camera to tell him she's very fluffy. Edit. Thank you for my first gold. Wish I had a nanny cam. My stepsister was watching my brother with disabilities for me. She would dump out the contents of his capsules, meds, and juice them later. Didn't find out about it till he started having seizures constantly and ended up in the hospital for the 2nd time. I travel the US for work and am fortunate enough to be able to bring my 2 beagles with me. They have never been away from my side longer than the time I've been at work. They are 10 and 13. I have a camera that I use to check in on them sometimes, mostly because my larger beagle is quite the ingenious guy, opening doors, scooting chairs over places so he can jump up onto the counters, etc etc. Last year I was in Oregon and had to go home to Michigan for an emergency. I do not fly with them, I will only drive. So I was in a pickle and reluctantly hired someone off of Rover that was willing to come stay over at my hotel room for 3 days. She was great, kept up on texting me about the dogs, said things like tossing them a ball right now. So I would check in via the cam when I thought it was appropriate. This woman was amazing. Not only was she playing with them enough to make them exhausted, she was even teaching them new tricks, making them use their brains to solve puzzles, and even got my 42-pound beagle to get up on her back so she could do push-ups. She was an avid CrossFitter. I was extremely happy. My mom put a nanny cam on my sister's bedroom. The only disturbing thing my mom allegedly saw was the babysitter crying while holding my sister. Turns out the babysitter just had a miscarriage the day before. This was my equivalent of pre-K. All the kids were regressing in their movement ability and getting really fat, so they set up spy equipment. Turns out one carer was doubling every baby's food portions and forcefully overfeeding them. My story isn't that interesting, but I have a camera to check in on my rabbit when I'm not there. The biggest surprises were mostly just how almost nobody followed my pet sitting instructions. The one exception, ironically, was my brother, who claimed to hate the rabbit and always wanted to get rid of it. I got an alert one day that my camera had detected movement while my bro was there taking care of him, and I decided to take a peek. I opened the app connected to the camera and saw my bro walk into my room, lay on the floor, and start playing with my rabbit. It just warmed my heart. My grandpa was staying with my parents, but they figured it best to hire the regular sitter to watch my younger siblings overnight, since they didn't think my grandpa was up to the task and they were attending a wedding a couple hours away and made plans to spend the night in a hotel nearby. They had set up a nanny cam in a couple room, my siblings' bedroom, the master bedroom, living room and kitchen motion activated. They normally wouldn't bother looking through the footage if everything seemed fine upon returning home, and their master bedroom cam had never been triggered before. When they returned, they noticed that the cam in the master bedroom had been triggered, so they decided to take a look. Cut to footage of my grandpa and the sitter both naked, aggressively making out from the entrance of the room, staggering while intertwined towards the bed, and then about 20 minutes of banging on my parents' bed. The sitter was about 20 years old and my grandpa was around 70 at the time. My dad called me immediately after he saw the footage, laughing his ass off, and I could hear my mom crying in the background, completely mortified from what she had just witnessed, and shouting at my dad to throw out the sheets and kick out grandpa. My mom called the sitter to confront her, and she just apologized and said there was connection or some shoot to that matter. When she asked my grandpa what he was thinking, he just said, "At my age you must seize every opportunity." I wish if there was audio for the build up. I lay awake at night sometimes just wondering what kind of game my grandpa was talking to get in that sitter's pants. This isn't an answer, more of an additional question. But how much of the video do parents with nanny cams watch? Or do they watch them on speed playback and adjust the speed to normal if they see something suspicious or noteworthy? We have an outdoor camera. If we need to go back to check something, we watch on super fast forward. Turns out our paid house/dog sitter did not walk the dog like she was supposed to. My friends paid a family member to feed and water their dogs while they were gone on vacation for a week. They didn't. One of the dogs died. I ended up removing the body because my friends couldn't handle it. It was their puppy, and the other dogs started eating it after it died. I wish I could erase that memory from my mind. A little late to the party, but here goes. My mom suspected our maid of stealing the silverware, and she's just freaking nosy. Anyway, the maid was indeed stealing the silverware. I think that ended up being overshadowed by my dad freaking her, though. Thanks for the gold. Who knew my dad's infidelity would one day pay off? Once, at the very last moment when no other babysitter was available, I hired one that is sort of notorious for not being good, not dangerous, or anything like leaving the child unattended, but like the type where she would not console the child if they were crying, punish them for doing small things. While away, I was very suspicious, so I continuously was glancing at the baby cam. The babysitter was playing with him, singing songs and completely engaging him well beyond the way you would expect somebody who was considered a bad babysitter to act. Essentially, what happened was the babysitter got hired by a crazy parent who didn't like her at all, so they spread a bunch of mumbo jumbo through the neighborhood. When I came home, I gave her a very large tip, and she was the one I always hired whenever I needed a babysitter. TDLR, at the last moment hired a babysitter that was rumored to be bad. Turns out she was a really good babysitter who once got hired by a crazy parent who didn't like her, so they spread a bunch of BS. This isn't a bad one. My parents caught the babysitter carrying our 60-pound golden retriever like he was a baby. My family bought one to see our dogs when we leave on vacation twice a year. It's one where they can hear us, and we thought it'd be great. We hardly used it. We also asked our maid to dog sit for us while we were out. Once when we looked at the feed we saw the dog sitter there a solid 30 minutes early just petting the dogs and playing with them. She's since retired from working, but she was the sweetest old lady and we love her. Another time my dad left a wad of cash on top of the washing machine, about $600, and she put a rubber band around it with a note saying he misplaced it. Stories like this make me so happy. I was a nanny for a family for over 10 years. I moved 8 hours away, but sometimes I drive up to stay with them. If they need me for a weekend, I miss the kids so much. I also babysat / house cleaned all through high school and college. I pride myself on never stealing a thing and never having laid a hand on a child. I'd rather maintain a great relationship and have guaranteed client base for years to come instead of a $20 object to porn. Most they'd see me do on a nanny cam was picking my nose. Lol edit. Yes, I'm a heroin addict. I made no attempts at hiding it, but great job internet sleuths. I became addicted after moving away. The family knows, but they are my second family and still love me anyway, so it's almost like the addiction doesn't define me. Weird concept, huh? Best comment of the day. My mom left me with a babysitter who was physically abusive. She didn't know. She found out when she picked me up. I had scratches on my back. There was a metal fan in the apartment. Also, I remember when I was crying because I wanted my mother. I was 3. She sat me down on a table, said your mommy isn't coming, and slapped me on the leg. I'm 26, going to be 27. I still remember. I hate her, and if I see her would probably go to prison for a double murder. Her daughter joined in tormenting me. Can I be blamed?